Welcome back to the channel. Today's video, we are going to design a game from a random generated prompt in 5 minutes or less. So, for those of you who are watching for the first time, we have a tool we like to use from letsmakeagame.net called their game idea generator. And this will give us a genre, rule, setting, and theme as a prompt for us to design around. And so what we will do is we'll click the generate button and set a 5-minute timer and see if we can get a game developed in 5 minutes or less. So let's generate. So we got bullet hidden object as the genre. The rule is enemies as weapons. Your setting is utopia and theme is temptation. I'm not familiar with the bullet hell hidden object genre, so instead of looking that up, we'll just re-roll. So we got a genre of shoot 'em up, strength in numbers, mythology, betrayal is our theme. That one's a little easier for me to wrap my head around, so let's go with that. So we'll start the 5-minute timer and see where we go. All right, so our idea is shoot 'em up. And so my first instinct is that this is a lane battling game, and so this would be a 2-player only, and you have these different lanes that you'll be playing cards into, and each player will be trying to not lose this tug of war of having these objects pushed from side to side. And how you win the game is by getting 3 of the 4 discs into the other player's zone. And so there's probably different, we'll say, you gotta push them 4 spaces. That may be a lot, but it might also not be a lot. So you're trying to push these throughout the course of the game. And how you do that is by playing cards down to the action row. And so my thought is that you have the board here, and then each player will play 3 cards to this action queue. And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, because it's a 2-player game. So this will be the 6 spaces that you can play cards into. And on your turn, each person will have a hand of 5, and then there'll be a deck area. And so of the 5 cards in your hand, our nice hand of 5 cards, you'll play one face up into one of the 6 slots. So if we played a card here and drew one, say player 2 then wanted to do something before that card, so they played here, and eventually, as we each take 3 turns in the round, we'd fill up the action row. And once the action row is filled up, we will resolve the cards from left to right based on the owner of who played them. So we would have to probably here we'll draw that a little better to cut that as well. So we have our action row here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And to denote who played what card, they just play it on each side of the line. So we may end up with something like this, where player 2 played those 3 and player 1 played these 3. And so once 6 cards are filled up in the market row, or the action line, then you would trigger the actions. So maybe this first one is push any token one space in any direction. So they choose to push it here. And this one is slide one token to the left. So this ends up here. And this is if two in a column, combine them. And so then that would get shifted on here. So that's a ×2. And there'd be a bunch of actions that get triggered in the sequence. And the 4 discs would end up in various positions. So say after the first round, we have 2 stacked there. This one got pushed really close, and that one stayed stagnant. Those could be, that'd be the first round, then you'd rinse and repeat until somebody has gotten 3 tokens into their other player's base camp. And so that would be the framing of the game. And we have 1 second, and the timer is going off. All right, so to recap, we were tasked with doing a shoot 'em up strength and numbers game. And so the format of the game that we picked is this lane battler, where there are 4 discs that we could turn into some form of beast that you're trying to through, or something mythology based. We'd have to figure that out after this video. Where your goal is to push 3 of the 4 discs into the other player's zone. And if you do that, you win. And to add in the betrayal mechanic, I think each player would get a power that would be able to activate and steal the other player's action if it met a certain criteria. So whether it's in an action column or whether it's a certain color, you would get a little bonus, or if there's a pattern that's met, you would be able to betray them by forcing them to discard a card from their hand permanently. And so if you can achieve this betrayal mechanic as well, where you make it so that they aren't able to hold any cards in their hand, they would win. As that would be an alternate way to win outside of this, tug of war style battle. And so how we would test this is it would need a little more design work because it's not a full game yet in the 5 minutes that we got through. But I would try and figure out what those betrayal powers are, and I'd probably set another timer to come up with all the cards that would go into the deck. And so I would give each card a number and a color and a direction of movement, and so I'd come up with the UX of the card first, and then I would try and come up with, so it's 6 in your hand, 6 are played out each round. So I'd probably start with a 52 card deck and modify based on that. And once I had 52, I would then different actions, or 13 that I could times by 4. Once I had enough cards that would be actions to play the game with, I would come up with at least 2 different betrayal mechanics. But for the sake of texting, because I'd know all of them, I need to come up with at least 3 or 4, so that I couldn't just remember what the other player's mechanic is. And so I'd have to figure out what those betrayal cards are. And I think it'd then be ready to test. And so what I would do is I'd probably bring it into Tabletop Simulator to test, because that would be, for me, the speed of implementation, that'd be the quickest to test it out. And then I would reach out to a couple game groups that I'm part of to see if they want to try this 2-player battling game, or maybe even ask my fiance Michaela if she wants to play one night as well. And so that's how I tested at the table. But that is my result of today's prompt. So let me know if you had any different thoughts based off the prompt in the comments below. Thank you for stopping by for today's video, and I hope you guys have a great day.